So first of all, wait a minute. Hello. Okay, all right. So first of all, let's look at pattern 2 and I will describe that I have found another pattern 4 that we will execute in future if that pattern appears. So let's look at pattern 2. In pattern 2, basically we have an established trend downside, so we are expecting that price will mirror this move after if it started breaking below this minor this support, I would say. So these are the conditions for pattern 2. Basically in pattern 2 we need a fake out below the support and then fake out above the resistance. However, our entry will be in line with the trend. So this is our pattern 2. But sometimes the trend is so bearish that market doesn't give you this fake out and starts continue moving down. So what we will do in that scenario, for that I have developed a pattern 4. Basically in pattern 4, what we were looking yesterday, right here in this area, when prices were right here, basically we did a fake out and we were anticipating that if we find pattern 1 above 1804 area, we may continue moving up. But the whole idea is that prices at this candle moved up with so much volume that this like 45 pips of move was in first 5 minutes, I would say, and this candle wick was formed later on. And after this candle was closed, another candle starts to break above the high of previous candle, and then closed like this. So the one thing we were sure at this point was that there was a lot of volume because this whole move up and down was in 15 minutes. So once this candle closed, I executed this trade on my demo account because I have seen this pattern enough times, but it keep pushing down. So at this point there is a need for us to develop a pattern 4 in which it is just a pattern 2, but if the whole idea behind this pattern is prices did a fake out below above this area, so that's why it is called pattern 4, because the trend was so much bearish that it didn't even bothered to give us a fake out little bit above, I would say around 6-7 pips. If this week was 6-7 pips up further, this was our confirmed trade for shorts. So as per pattern 2. So for pattern 4, basically we are basing our analysis on H4 time frame. If we look at H4, the trend was bearish. On Friday we did a retracement. On Monday we consolidated because of bank holiday and a lot of other reasons. But on Tuesday we moved like 300 pips of down move. So this is pattern 4. H4 trend is bearish. We done a retracement on Friday. We done a consolidation on Monday. We range on Monday bank holiday. On Tuesday trend was expected to continue, and I was anticipating buys above 1804 according to pattern 1, but that didn't appeared. Even if it do appears, but the conditions as the market was moving, it may be an invalid pattern. But let's talk about what was actually there instead of what should be there. So this is the whole idea behind pattern 4. The same thing appeared in GBP JPY yesterday, pattern 4. Let's look at H4. H4 trend was bearish. If we look at weekly, the trend weekly candle closed like this, and the next weekly candle on Monday moved like 152 pips up. So, and once it break below this area, the daily candle flipped bearish. It was bullish at this area. It was around 120 pips. We were already anticipating shorts below 163.300 area. If you watch our yesterday live stream, London session live stream, we were anticipating shorts below 163.300 area, but the whole problem was that we didn't fake out above this wick to the left, so I was waiting that we may find a fake out above this area and then we can continue moving down, and I would have entered at that point, but the whole idea is that didn't appeared at all. So in that scenario, when a faker doesn't appear, a pattern 2 doesn't appear for shorts, if it starts to break below the lows, this was my entry right over here around 17 to 20 pips of stop, and I will and I should risk upon this setup later on, but the condition is very obvious. First of all, we need an established trend. It can be uptrend or downtrend in higher time frames. Second, price do a consolidation, do a fake out below some support. This was a support if we look back, and yeah, this was this support right over here, and then it continues moving up, but it failed to, I would say, retest this area. I waited yesterday the entire time for prices to do some action in this area, but it failed to do some sort of action in this area, and then it broke the lows. Once this M15 candle closed and next M15 candle started breaking below the low, this was my entry, this was my stop around 23 pips, and I could have captured like 50-60 pips on this trade. So this is the whole idea behind pattern 4, and I have already uploaded pattern 4 on our blog if you want further references. So if you want to look at our pattern 1 that was explained on 27th June live stream London session in London session, and if you wanted to look at our pattern 2 and 3 that was explained in 1st July live stream in New York session, and this pattern 4 was explained in 7th July 6th July Forex London session live stream. So this is the whole idea behind the patterns, and at this point we will redo our analysis. We will redo our analysis for gold and JPY, and we will now wait patiently for our trades, our patterns to appear. But remember, I will execute anything on pattern 1, 2 and 3, but I will not execute on pattern 4 unless and until I have at least 5 to 6 examples of pattern 4 that I executed on my demo account. and then later on I will also trade on pattern 4. So in my opinion, we are doing a lot of progress as we have found some pattern that appears day in and day out, and we are sort of able to identify those patterns, although we are a little bit lacking in execution part, but the execution will get better with time, so that's not a problem. First of all, we will look at news, if there is any news for today. And yeah, there are some news today. FOMC meeting minutes were also due later in New York session. But the whole point is this is just a meeting, and what I have seen from my experience that on meetings where just on meeting, I think the volatility is very low. It can be low, it can move on this trade, but I will not be trading because I am usually sleeping at this time. So that's it. However, on Thursday we have no news, and on Friday we have some high impact US dollar and CAD news. So that's all for news part today. Let's do our analysis. Monthly candle has opened like 6 days ago. It has moved bearish till then, and there was a there was a zone at 163.300 area. Price did a fake out above, and then it is moving down. But still the whole idea is it may be wicking down to move up later on in the month, because we have around 24 days left in monthly candle closing, so we don't know where this monthly candle can will go. But we are just basically looking at where today price can what is the probability price can move to what point for today. In weekly candle, the current weekly candle wicked up and continued moving down, and it is only Wednesday, so it can keep moving down, can consolidate, or yeah. So this is the whole idea behind weekly candle, and it may reject from this area, but we are not sure at this point where it can move, so we are just waiting. So if we look at daily time frame, we have a support at 162.500 area, and we have resistance at 164.200 area. So this is a resistance, but we need to look at where is our support, because there are multiple supports in this area. So we will find most relevant support by looking at. So in H4 we have this support. Price is do breaking below that support, but we will see by looking at H1. If we look at, we need to readjust it little bit late lower, around 161 point, around 161. So at this point, so this is our H1 support at 161, and we also need to readjust our I this thing. And there is an other resistance at this area. If we are able to break above 162.500 area, we can keep pushing up in this 100 pips of range, but we need to first move up like 100 pips to potentially reach 162.500 area. Maybe we can refine our zones, but if we break below 161, we can potentially do a big fill around 100 pips. So there is a lot of opportunities today in M15. In M30 we will further readjust. So first we need to around, this move is around 50 pips. It need to travel down 50 more pips. If we readjust our zone in M15, we have now a support at 160.240. That is around 120 pips away. We need to find a support where prices currently are, and if we look at, we can draw this support, a minor support, I will say. Not a minor support, this is not a minor support, this is H1 H4 support. You see we are rejecting from this area, we rejected from here, and so this is also a strong support in my opinion. And here, if we break above 162.500 area, and if we break above this wick, there is high probability for prices to keep pushing up in 62 pips of range. So today will be amazing in my opinion. We will find, in my opinion, I will be able to find some trades based on pattern 1 or on pattern 2, but we need to wait. We probably need to wait a lot today. So this is our hold idea for GBP/JPY. This support at 161.300 is a very strong support. This is also a strong support at 161.700. If we break above 162.500, we can potentially keep moving up. So let's write down our analysis. Buys above 162.500, shorts below 161, shorts below 161.600. Yeah, so this is our whole idea. Still prices have broken below, but the whole idea is prices break below 161.600 area before London pre-London session. So that's at this point I am facing like timing issues on this trade, as this will be a valid trade for shorts. But if we look at H4, the trend is heavily bearish, so we may not be able to find buys above 162.500 area. But I will execute if we met our conditions for patterns, and if trade appears above 162.500 area. But we will see what will appear later on, and then we can trade. For now we are shorts. Our bias is we can potentially keep moving down till 160.200 area, almost 120 pips. If we look at in gold we have, so monthly candles are pushing down and down and down. We are potentially approaching a strong support area in my opinion, but we don't know where prices will reject. Weekly candle has broken below to all the wicks to left to the most recent uh, 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 so the weekly candle has broken below the recent wicks to the left, and we are potentially approaching a heavy rejection area at 1750 or 1761. This is very strong rejection area, so we are just waiting. If we look at daily broke below all this support. It was a strong support and keep pushing up like 350 pips, and the daily candle has closed with no wick at the bottom, so prices may or may not continue moving down. But by looking at daily time frame, the trend is bearish, strong bearish I would say, so we may continue moving down. If we look at H4, we have our resistance at 1811 area and support at 1764. We will draw these support levels. So these are two area, and the whole range between these two areas is around 450 pips. We need to look at smaller time frame to see if prices. We have another resistance at 1771, so this is also a strong resistance, because if we look left in daily, we see that it is also a strong support zone, a strong resistance zone. uh, Basically prices are below this area, so it is a resistance. If prices are above this area, then it will be support, and we have another support at 1764, which is a very strong area in my opinion. Basically, if we are to move below or we are to move up, we need volume, because both these areas are very strong and prices are stuck in consolidation between these two areas. And if we break above this area, and there are conditions that we defined in pattern 1, and those conditions appear, we can potentially keep moving up till 1796 area, or at least till 1790 area, like 150 pips from this point. Even this range is around 63 pips. So we are basically waiting, and we are very careful at this point. If we look at M30, these same areas are present. So basically above 1772, we can we have this problem at 1775. If we break above this, we can potentially keep moving up. So today there are I have high hopes that I will find some amazing entry based on our patterns, but we need to look what is below 1764 and where can prices potentially move if we break below 1764. For that we will move left. uh, 1764, we need to look at basically what is below 1764. At this point we are just waiting. Can we find anything below 1764, because we are moving up and up and up? That's okay here at this point. All right, below 1764 we have another support at 1760, and below that support we have another support at 1750, and this is very strong support, 1750 area. So these are our support. Below 1750 we have another support at 1747. But the whole idea is, whenever this sort of move happens, the next day usually consolidates or move in opposite direction. There is very low probability that prices will keep pushing down, but it if they do keep pushing down, then we are also ready for that, but we need our conditions to be fulfilled for us to enter in that trade. Basically at this point we are just simply looking at two things: buys above 1772, 1772, shorts below 1764. We are For now we are looking at this condition, and we both these areas are very strong areas. Even if we move below 1764, the whole problem is there are a lot of supports till 1750, almost like I can't move any lower than this. Yeah, we have basically a spot at 1760, around 30 pips away. We have another spot at 1754. 50 pips away, we have another spot at 1750. 34 pips away, we have another spot at 1746, 50 pips away. But if volume do appear, we will break through all these supports. So that is not a big concern, but looking for volume is a big concern. So we are just waiting. We will be waiting till we find something that we can execute on. For now, we are just waiting. GBP JPY we are breaking below, but the whole problem is we are breaking below way before pre London. So we are staying away at this point. Even if this pattern appears while I was in London session with all the conditions remain same, I would not have entered on this trade again. We are just waiting. We need to wait a lot, I will say. waiting at this point. So the previous H4 candle has closed below our 161.600 resistance, but this H4 candle is only 25 minutes old. It's keep pushing up since it opened, so we don't know how this H4 candle will close. If the current H4 candle sort of done a retracement above, then there was high probability for prices to keep pushing down. So we are very careful at this point. We will keep updating our analysis when we find something, but at this point we are just waiting. We may need to wait a lot, and we may not even find an entry today, but that's all okay for me. Still, where there is very high probability for prices to keep pushing down. Gold, we are just waiting for gold to break outside of the consolidation, but GBP JPY is showing us some sort of volume. I still do believe that we can keep pushing down, but that's not the whole point. The point is how we can enter on this trade, how we can execute on this trade as per our trading plan. That's the whole question. So I have no trade for past 2 days. I may not be able to find a trade today as per my patterns. So that is perfectly okay for me. As I have explained in my yesterday live stream that I have to wait for 12 trading days in simulation for my trade pattern to appear, and I executed on that trade and made profits. So basically that's the whole idea behind just trading your patterns or just trading something you have noticed in the past. We are just waiting at this point, and there is nothing we can do or we are supposed to do at this point. Today will be the game of patience. I have already I have already addressed my denied impulses of no trading for past 2 days. So for me it is perfectly okay if I don't find another trade today. Gold is in consolidation. GBP/JPY has broken below 161.600 area, but the whole idea is there are 22 minutes left in pre-London, so we are basically waiting. Gold has also started to break below 1764. Still we can continue pushing down. There are 5 minutes left in M15 candle close. Yeah, that's it. We can keep pushing down in gold also. But I am waiting for my pattern to appear, my patterns, and that's it. I will not execute on anything outside of my patterns. are just waiting at this point. The M15 candle has closed. We have closed like a rejection in gold. GBP JPY we have closed like a small bullish candle. So basically this we have now done a fake out in gold, but still it can keep pushing down, but that's the whole different story. We are just waiting. जल्दी जल्दी we need to wait for few more minutes so that hourly candle can close and give us some clue. GBP JPY will be difficult to trade, I will say, but we will look at it later on. This is also a zone in my opinion, but we will see how things will go. We need to wait for 11 more minutes before candle closing, and then we will redo our things. Nothing in both these pairs. Both of these pairs can keep pushing down, but there is nothing I can spot and I can trade on. So at this point, I am just waiting. So let's look at some of news. I don't know what are the technical indicators that shows we are in a recession. So let's look at if recession is officially declared in some of countries. So we are waiting for candles to close. But we do need to wait a lot, I will say today. The candles are closing very soon. We have broken below 1764 support level, I will say at this point. So the hourly candle has closed. Gold we closed strong below 1764 area. Still there is very high probability for prices to keep pushing till 1760 area. In GBP we have closed like this, and still we can retrace up and continue moving down. The overall trend in gold and in GBP is bearish. We need to take that into account. We are bearish in gold. Also in GBP we are also bearish. We are bearish. So we also need to take into account the trend, the higher time frame trend, which is bearish, and yes, that's it. We need to wait a lot. I will rather wait for London Open, and then I may I may be able to find some trades, but for now we have no trade. We are just waiting and waiting. There is very little to low opportunities for us to trade today at for at least at current market situations. That's why we are waiting. We will wait to see if we find something that matches with the information we have from past, and then we can execute on that. But for now we are just waiting. GBP JPY is continuing its move down to 160 area, almost like 80 pips away. There is volume in GBP JPY, so it can keep pushing down, but we are just waiting for something accurate to appear, and we might trade on that thing. But at this point we are just waiting. There is nothing much that we can do at this point. We can keep pushing down in GBP JPY. We have already moved, like we came onto charts at this point, we have already moved like 70 pips in GBP JPY, but the whole move occurred out of trading sessions. But this was highly expected that we will keep pushing down. There was still there is very high probability that we will continue moving down. In gold, there is nothing so far, so we need to wait at this point. We are just waiting. As we have waited yesterday, we waited a lot. We waited like 5 hours, but still we were unable to find any entry. So yeah, so today we will also wait, probably a lot. Just waiting at this point, waiting for candles to close in 3 minutes, and then we will see what's going on. So the current 15-minute candle in gold is breaking above the lows, above the highs of previous 15-minute candle, and we will see what will happen. GPP JPY is basically rejecting from 160.800 area. If we look left, yeah, there is also a sort of small support. Oh no, let's delete this and let's go back again. Yes, there is some sort of support. Below this support there is clean move of 80 pips. So what we will do, we will also draw this, and in gold we have closed bullish. We have broken above the high of previous candle, and although we have broken above the high of previous candles, still these candles mean nothing at this point, because we are still inside the range, because we still have low volume. So the only thing that we can do is to wait. We are just waiting at this point. GBP JPY has rejected below this 161.170 area, but still that means nothing at this point. We are basically waiting at this point. We are breaking below above all the highs from previous candles. So here at this point I will take 5 minutes of break. Oh, we are just waiting at this point. M15 candle is about to close. H1 candle in GBP/JPY has a rejection at this point, but we don't know how this H1 candle will close. However, M30 candle is about to close and it has a huge rejection. So maybe we can find some sort of entry, but we are just waiting at this point. Just our phones a little bit. So the M30 candle has now closed. In GBP/JPY we have a strong rejection. Now there is very high probability we can test 161.700 area, but this candle has no wick to at the top, so we need to wait. And in GBP/JPY the M30 candle has closed here, but it do has a wick at top, so there is nothing so far. We are still waiting. I am anticipating buys above 161.700 area. I need to based on my pattern 1, but for that pattern to be valid, few conditions need to be met. Almost half of the conditions are met at this point. I am waiting for other half conditions of pattern 1 to be complete so that I can execute a trade. Still there is a hope that we can find a trade GBP/JPY. In gold we are waiting. So market may test our patience today, but we are patient and disciplined trader, and we will act as per our trading plan and as per our patterns. and at this point we just need to wait. So the in GBP JPY we have flipped bullish. I will execute this trade, but this trade is not based on our pattern 1. I am working on if we can find early execution on pattern 1. That's why I am executing this trade. If in GBP JPY we do close near 161.700 area, we can potentially keep moving up, and at that point our conditions for pattern 1 will be complete, so I may execute it on my real account, but we need to wait. In the meantime, I will show you the conditions for pattern 1. Yeah, right here. So these are the conditions for pattern 1. Fake out zone, volume and candle wicks with below first and starts breaking zone. So we do have a fake out, we do have a volume, we do have a zone. Only reason I didn't execute it at this point because our zone was 23 pips away, else I would have executed at this point. However, there is a high probability that in next candle we may be able to execute a trade based on pattern 1. So we are just waiting at this point. In gold, our analysis is simple. We were shown shorts below 1764, but we didn't execute it on these shorts of because this trade was out of our pattern. However, we will execute once our pattern appears. I still have high hopes that we may be able to find our pattern in GBP JPY very soon. So we are just waiting. We need to wait for 10 more minutes and I am ready for execution. This is just a paper trade, but we will see how things will play out. I waited for trade. Let me look at my journal and I will tell you something. The last trade I have taken was on the last trade was on Friday, I guess. So yeah, so I have waited for, I didn't traded any trade after Friday. I have waited almost like 72 hours for now, or more than 72 hours for this trade to appear. So trading is all about patience. We do live stream on Monday and Tuesday for almost 5 hours each day, but we didn't execute it on anything because we were waiting for this trade to appear, and there is high probability on next candle we will find what we were looking for past 4 days. But I want my conditions to be met, else I will not enter in this trade. That's it. In gold, we are just consolidating. We need to either break above or break below to potentially execute a trade, but for now, we are just waiting. So 6 minutes left in candle close. We are in 13 pips profit on our demo trade. Our stop loss was around 21 pips. So we are just waiting. So H4 candle is rejecting from the lows. This candle is only 1 hour and 40 minutes old. Still 2 hours and 20 minutes left for this candle to close. We don't know how this candle will close, but when this H4 candle was open, it has no wick to upside, and we were anticipating that a wick to upside may be created, and market is now creating a wick to the upside. So at this point, each and every condition for me to enter in trade is met except one condition, and if that full fills, then I will execute on this trade. So our demo trade is now in 25 pips profit. minutes left in candle close, and most of the conditions for trade are already met, but I will look to see how this M15 candle will close and how next M15 candle will react. Only then I will enter and execute on this trade. Else, you know, our backup plan, the same backup plan we applied for previous 4 days, I will apply that backup. If the things I wanted to see doesn't appear at this point, I need to wait for 2 more minutes. If I execute trade at this point and I potentially target, it could be a big win, I would say, but it's too early to say at this point. So this trade is in 39 pip profit. 42 pips, man. This thing, man, I was waiting for retracement. This is the thing. This is the way things are. It is what it is, as my mentor would say. Now at this point, I am waiting for wick, lower wick before it starts to break its own high. Then I will execute, else I am not executing anything and I will stay away from everything. Come on, man, you need to create a lower wick. Yes, this is what I wanted to see. If we create a wick like 11-12 pips, that will be amazing. Else, you know what is our backup plan? Our backup plan will then be to stay away from anything and everything. This H1 candle is doing wonders. At this point, I am ready to execute if it starts to break its own high. Little bit more. If we enter right here, our stops will be around 15 pips. So that is a reasonable stop. I will place my buy stops, and this will be my stop loss, 17 pips, and that's it. And at this point I will break even this trade, because at this point I am not expecting prices to do this level again, and I will execute once we starts breaking the highs. So this is actually a good thing, price creating a lower wick to potentially keep moving up. We have around 40 pips at this point that we can potentially target, but prices have moved around like 100 pips in buys already, so anything can happen. I have alternate plan of risk management if things go against me, and I will stick to my plan. So basically I have waited for almost 4 days for this trade. It doesn't mean that this trade should work for me, or like now the market should give me a reward for my waiting, but it doesn't works like that. Alright, 10 minutes left in candle close. We are waiting to see if the things that we wanted to see appears. If not, I will remove my buy stops and move on with my day. So 8 more minutes left till the buy stop is valid. If market doesn't show me something that I wanted to see, I will remove this buy stop and that's it. Okay, alright, I will wait for 7 more minutes. Five more minutes before I will delete my buy stops. Alright, the candle is now flipping bullish and we have 5 minutes left in candle closing. Our buy stops is now active. Our stops is around 14 US dollar on this trade and I will potentially target this TP. I waited for this trade for almost 4 days. Still there is no compulsion for market that market must hit my take profit on this trade just because I have waited for so long. It doesn't work like that and there is no compulsion on markets for to do anything you wanted it to do. We are just waiting and I am ready to manage my stops if things go out, if the things started to if it started to present something that I don't want it to see. Our demo trade is now in 30-40 pips profit. Alright, at this point I will rather wait for 2 more minutes. If the candle flip bearish, I'm gonna close something. We need to wait for 2 minutes before we can do something. Although also London Open will happen in 1 minute. So at this point I have closed most of. Oh my man, this is not working. The magic. Okay. Uh, there is no point of holding this trade for now because of number of reasons. So my initial risk was around 14 US dollar. I have closed my most of position in 6 US dollar loss, and I have placed my stop loss below this candle low. If it goes against me, it goes against me, and that's it. At this point I am closing everything on my demo account, and it do make sense to close everything. So yeah, so I risked around 14 US dollars on this trade. Trade didn't work like I wanted it to work. I closed everything. My initial risk was $14. I was able to manage my risk to 7 US dollar on this trade, and that's it for today. So I will create a journal of this trade now. Basically, I monitor the quality of each trade based on 4 factors. Number one factor is execution. Number two factor was risk management. Number three was technical analysis. And number four was emotional status. How I was able to react emotionally while I was in the trade, and you have noticed that I have closed the trades as soon as market started showing me something that I don't want it to see. So that's it. For me, it can keep moving up, but trade is invalid as per my trading plan and as per my patterns. So yeah, that's it for today. The only thing that I was concerned about, that market has also moved like 100 pips, so it may not move as I expect it to move. That's why I closed my whole trade in like 6 pips. What's man, 6 pips? That's a huge win also in terms of my risk management for today. And I hope when I will win, I will be able to secure much more than I have lost on this trade. So yeah, at this point, in my opinion, we will create a consolidation in GBP JPY between this area. There is high probability we will consolidate in this area before we can potentially get some sort of trade idea. So nothing in gold also, so we are just waiting. So the whole idea was to close trade like in 5-6 pips drawdown was very correct decision at that point, because if we have holded our trade longer, we will be in like 18 pips of drawdown, or we may probably have hit our stop loss. So this is what I will do day in and day out. Although I have hit a stop loss, but that's okay for me. And I will again execute on pattern 1 if that appears. This is just the, for example, I have executed pattern 1 for almost 1 month in simulation for 30 trading days, and I was able to find like 8 trades based on pattern 1, and 5 trades were winners, and 2 trades were break even, and 1 trade was small loss like this. So whenever we are basically trading, we are trading a pattern, we are basically, so there is basically a random distributions of win and losses, so it was just the probability of trade not working out. Even if we go back in time, I still would have executed on this trade because this trade was what I was waiting for previous 4 days. So yes. Although I have sort of lost in this trade, but the quality of this trade on which I individually judge a trade is very high. The quality, I basically judge the quality of trade based on 4 factors. Those factors are execution. I have done amazing execution at this point, right above the high of previous candle, and risk management. I have done amazing risk management. First of all, I waited patiently for this lower wick. It created a lower wick as it starts to as it started breaking its own high. I executed a buy position, and the third thing is technical analysis. Technically, it was counter trend trade. I was aware of that, but I have seen from previous backtesting that pattern 1, 2 works. It doesn't matter if the trend is bullish or the trend is bearish. So I executed on this trade, and emotionally I was calm. Like, I know I hit stop loss, but still I am happy because this is what I was waiting for previous 4 days, and I executed on this trade, and that's it. My part as a trader is to execute on something that I recognize from past, and that's it. The outcome of the trade, I can't control that, and I can't control markets. The only thing that I can control is my risk management, which I have already controlled my risk, lowered my risk from $15 to $7.5. That's all I can do on this trade, and that's it. I